YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more 2019 NFL record predictions. This one's for the Denver Broncos, and we are going through every single team. We actually went through most of the teams. We got to finish up the AFC West, then the NFC West. Then we got playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions, and much, much more to come. But breaking down the Broncos, I like to start with their defense because I like this defense. Maybe the best pass rush in football. You could argue it. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, with Vic Fangio come from Chicago over there. He did wonders over there in Chicago. So this could be big time. Love this pass rush. I like the D-line too. So I was kind of been hyping up their defense. I like it. It could be a top defense, but then kind of really evaluating it. Trying to compare it to the Bears. There's some similarities. They actually have the coach too, but even without Fangio, there's some similarities. But the Bears defense on paper at this point was a little better last year than the Broncos is this year. I think the middle linebackers and the secondary is the difference. They may not get as many turnovers as the Bears did, which is a key, but this pass rush could be insane. And because of that, and because of Vic Fangio, and the D-line is solid too, they can be a top-tier defense, depending on what's going on with Chris Harris too. But, and offensive line's been getting better. Had some young guys over the years. And they add to it too. So the offensive line should be a little better, which is a good thing. There's really nothing I like everything on this offense. It's just Joe Flacco. I don't dislike him. It's just, can he get the job done where he's at today? Because you look at the Ravens, and the Ravens were not going to make the playoffs last year. They were not going to make the playoffs, and the rookie quarterback who everyone said can't throw, should be a receiver, BS, but he comes in there and leads them to the playoffs. If Joe Flacco was in there, they weren't going to make the playoffs. So that's something interesting. And, in terms of the rest of the talent in the roster, maybe there's a little more weapons on the Broncos offense, a little bit. But the defense, even though I like the Broncos defense, the Ravens defense was unreal last year. But right before we get started with the game-by-game predictions, 20K is our subscriber goal. We're getting there. Thanks to the great support out there. We have daily sports videos. First upload usually starts at about 2 p.m. Eastern. And then clicking that like button, checking out the Twitter where we answer questions and have polls. Once I get through an entire division, these record predictions, I tweet out a poll who will win that division. So you guys vote. You guys play a part in that. But on to game-by-game predictions here. Week 1, Monday Night Football against the Oakland Raiders. This should be a good one. And, Week 1, random outcomes all the time that don't tell us anything about the rest of the year. But to me, this is really either way, isn't that random? I like Monday night primetime home team. I like a lot. So I'm going to go with the Raiders on that. They can score some points. And the Broncos will win some games because of their defense. But I think in Week 1, that Raiders offense could put up some points. But then they play Chicago, Vic Fangio versus former team. And I like the Broncos in that one at home. I think just a defensive battle, just a complete defensive battle. And I think the Broncos win it. I think it's going to be real low scoring. And I like the Broncos at home. Vic Fangio beating his old team. Broncos at Packers, though. I think the Packers get enough points here, even though it's a solid Broncos defense, and I got the Packers. Jags, Broncos. It's a tough matchup, too, because very similar defenses. They both bring the pressure, and I think the Jags have the better secondary, though, even though it's in Denver. And then you look at the quarterbacks, Nick Foles versus Joe Flacco. Tough matchup. Similar teams, but tough matchup for the Broncos. I like the Jaguars in that one. And then against the Chargers, it's a similar situation as the Jags. You look at these defenses. They're both going to bring really good pressure, but the Chargers have the better secondary. They also have the better quarterback, I think, really offense altogether. So I think it's a bad matchup, once again, for the Broncos. They're home against the Titans, another one where I think, pretty similar teams. They're gonna play some good defense, and looking at their offenses, both that could be inconsistent. I just like the Broncos. The pressure of the Broncos is the difference because the Titans got a good defense. I don't know if they got some pressure, but they didn't really, turn into sacks last year. I think those guys like Harold Landry will do very, very well for them in the sack department, but I think the difference is actually getting to the quarterback in this game, and the Broncos win that. Chiefs-Broncos, Thursday night, primetime in Denver. They'll get to Mahomes. I think they can cause some turnovers in this one. I like the Broncos at home. Broncos-Colts. I like the Colts. I like their defense in this type of game. Their defense on paper doesn't look too great, but it just ends up being very well, playing very well on the field. I like their defense here, and they'll score some points too. Browns, Broncos. Another spot where I think the Broncos defense shows up. Baker Mayfield. I love Baker Mayfield. He's my number one quarterback in that draft class, and he's the future. But it's a sophomore year, second year. He didn't even start the whole year last year. He's gonna have his moments where I call them hiccups. He'll have his moments like that, and there could be some in this game against this Broncos defense. Against the Vikings, another one that could be a defensive battle. Kubiak versus the Broncos, very interesting. But I trust the Vikings offense a little more now that they upgraded their offensive line, especially at US Bank. Against the Bills, another one that could be a defensive battle. The difference, it's similar to the Titans matchup. I think the difference is, I think similar offensive play, but I think the difference is actually getting the sacks and the pressure of the quarterback. The Broncos will do that better. Chargers, Broncos. It's hard to see the Broncos not beating them either time, but I'm going to Chargers. Like I mentioned earlier, they have a similar type team, but the Chargers can equal or better their pressure that they bring. They also have a better secondary, and I also trust their quarterback just a little more. So I like the Chargers in those matchups as long as they show up. Broncos, Texans. This could be a good one too because my original pick was the Texans, but now I'm thinking about more that the Broncos can get ridiculous pressure in this one. But I still think the Texans, Watson, can make something happen. I like them at home. If it was in Denver, I'd pick Denver. That's how close it is. In Kansas City, they had them beating the Chiefs the first time. Don't think so this time. I got them beating the Lions, so that would be a good game. Very close game, even teams. The Broncos defense, I think I like a little better. And then Raiders, Broncos, they play each other the first week and the last week, week 1 and week 17. I don't think the Broncos get swept by them, so I have them winning there. So 7-9. I honestly think they're better than a 7-9 team, but at the same time, it's on Joe Flacco. I like their defense. Secondary could be a little better. I don't know if they get those turnovers. Those turnovers are key. If they're consistently getting turnovers, then they're going to win way more than 7 games. That's the difference. Look at the Bears last year. I'm comparing these defenses, and they happen to have the same coach because he works with that defense because they're a similar defense and the type of players in there. So, and the big reason the Bears were real good last year because those turnovers. I don't know if the Broncos get that many. They maybe force fumbles, but you need a lot of interceptions, and it involves some luck too. So, it's tough seeing them win 7 games because this is a rough schedule. This is one of the harder schedules in football, I think, for this year. And I think their defense is real good. So 7 games is tough. I think they can win anywhere between 6 to, really, they got a pretty big range. 10, 11, if they get those turnovers consistently, 11 games. So it's just interesting. I think they need to build up in some spots. I think they need their quarterback of the future. They have it, I think, in Drew Lock. Actually, I'm a Drew Lock fan, but I guess he's not ready yet. So we'll see what happens with that. Very interesting, but I like this team a little better than 7-9. It's just really on Flacco and me remembering last year that I don't think the Ravens would have went to the playoffs. I really don't think they would have went to the playoffs if they kept him in, and instead they put in a quarterback that's known as raw, needs to develop his passing a little more, and he got them to the playoffs. So that's a little interesting to me, but it's a different team, different system, so we'll see. But that's going to do it for this one. We're going through every single team. Then we're going to predict playoffs, Super Bowl predictions, and plenty more predictions, also covering the NBA and the NBA draft. So please click that subscribe button. We got you covered with daily sports videos. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.